The Arabian Desert. Mother Nature at her most harsh. For many moons I have travelled in search of a lost relic the locals refer to as the Data Set. Braving the inferno of the sun, I gather what few clues I have to its final resting place and trudge wearily across the dunes. My water supplies gradually deplete, and thanks to the scorching heat beating down on my back like a slave driver lashing his whip, I slowly begin to lose hope. Before I completely lose consciousness, my eyes narrow as I squint across the horizon. Suddenly, a breakthrough! Is it a mirage, or could this be the treasure I'm searching for? My hands scalded by the searing sands, I desperately dig. Success! Fate has seen fit to smile on me this day. My quest may be over, but the pursuit of knowledge of the treasures of the past continues.
Today I'm taking you way back to my early childhood, before the Nintendo Entertainment System hit the market and home computers were the only means to play the latest video games, when video games came on cassette tapes and you could pick up new releases for a mere couple of quid. And there are a small handful of these games, on the Commodore 64 specifically, that stick in my mind as being some of my earliest gaming memories. Let me tell you about one in particular, Tales of the Arabian Nights. In 1982, Sun Electronics released Arabian in the arcades. In a shockingly original narrative twist, you play as a prince trying to rescue a princess. The game features typical Arabian Nights tropes such as flying carpets and Arabian architecture, presumably inspired by the 1001 Nights literature, film and music, although it should be noted that this was before such motifs were commonplace in games. While effectively a simple platform game in the same vein as the ridiculously popular Donkey Kong, it did offer more advanced graphics and gameplay mechanics. The prince can kick enemies, crawl through narrow passages, and climb across overhead vines. Each of the 4 stages is cleared by collecting all of the golden pots, with bonus points given for collecting them in the correct order to spell out Arabian. The game was released by Sun Electronics themselves in Japan, but the Western version was published by Atari, and one significant change they made to the game was the music, but I'll come back to that later. Arabian received a number of ports to home computers, but the only one that received a simple arcade port was the Famicom, and in Japan only, published by Sunsoft and given the name Super Arabian. A couple of minor tweaks were made, such as hiding the letters on the jugs, revealed temporarily by picking up an item, and Sunsoft also changed the music. The original arcade release features oddly un-Arabian classical music choices, specifically Offenbach's Galop Infernal from Orpheus in the Underworld, more commonly associated with the Can-Can, as well as Rossini's William Tell Overture, which you may be more familiar with as a theme tune to the Lone Ranger TV series. Super Arabian abandoned both of these and went with more fitting music. Although it hasn't exactly aged well, at all. I've heard dial-up modems that are easier on the ears. Anyway, in 1984, Interceptor Software converted the arcade version of Arabian to the Commodore 64, and in 1985 the home version was also ported to the ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC, BBC Micro and Acorn Electron. These versions were retitled Tales of the Arabian Nights. The C64 version is the one I'm most familiar with, so that's the one I'll be covering. I distinctly remember this game being bloody difficult, and I don't think I ever made it past the first screen more than a couple of times. So, after nearly 3 decades, I'm revisiting this game to find out exactly what changes were made to it, whether or not I can beat it as an adult, but most importantly, is it any good? Is this an Arabian tale worth telling? Or will you be longing for the night to be over? Let's find out.
Believe it or not, this is one of the less fucked up loading screens I've seen for a Commodore 64 game.
Tales of the Arabian Nights, written by Ian Gray, music arranged by Brit.
Oh my god, the computer's possessed! Out thou demon, the power of Christ compels you!
Sweet Jesus, that's jarring. And you thought Ghostbusters was bad. So who made it talk? Don't ask. No, I'm serious. Don't ask computer software provides the speech. Believe it or not, this was actually a big deal back in the day. Not only did the C64 have arguably better music capabilities than its rival computers, it could now talk as well? I bet that wound up Sir Clive.
This is what my lifetime of achievement has been reduced to. Clive Sinclair, the man who brought you Jet Set fucking Willy.
Looking back though, this is incredibly primitive. The opening voice is reading out the title and credits, but you wouldn't know that just by listening. Fortunately, the rest of the speech has subtitles. Just out of interest, could you interpret what's being said without them?
On a simple raft, he paddled inland along a crocodile infested river through a land of hostile nomads.
Here's what it actually says.
On a simple raft, he paddled inland along a crocodile infested river through a land of hostile nomads.
If you got that right first time, hi Stephen Hawking! Which leads me on to another of the new additions to the game, the story. With this version of the game you get cutscenes, well, okay, stills, with speech to tell the story. Yes, it may have less emotion in the delivery than Kristen Stewart, but it's still speech. Not only that, but the storyline of the game, The Tale of the Kalendar Prince, is written on the back of the cassette insert. Nice touch. Turns out the prince's name is Imrahil, and he's trying to save Princess Anitra, who is actually his sister, from the evil Sultan Saladin of Baghdad, who is known for putting every wife of his to death after one night before they get the chance to be unfaithful. Holy shit! Well, I'm never going to be able to look at this guy the same way again. Also, political instability in Baghdad? How prophetic. Anyway, let's talk about the music. Remember a while back I mentioned about Atari changing the music to Arabian? Well, they didn't come up with a generic composition like Super Arabian. The music is actually short excerpts based on Rimsky-Korsakov's orchestral composition Scheherazade, named after the Persian queen and storyteller of the 1001 Arabian Tales. Here's a comparison. Now when it came to the Commodore 64 version, a Mr. Chris Cox, the composer of the music, or music,
arranged by Chris Cox,
took the idea of converting Rimsky-Korsakov's melodies for the game and ran with it. Rather than the 30 seconds or so of music in the arcade game, the C64 game has a huge 3 to 4 minute long piece lifted from the reprise of the orchestral piece. and while it obviously sounds a bit crap compared to the original classical piece, it still sounds pretty damn good for the Commodore 64. Sure, it may not have the infectious rhythm of Monty on the Run, for example, but it has a classical elegance all of its own. Looking at the footage, you may have noticed some differences from Arabian. Firstly, the graphics have taken a bit of a hit compared to the arcade original. Obviously, the C64 can't reproduce arcade-perfect visuals, but it does an adequate job of recreating the environments. The sprites? Not so much. The prince in particular is severely lacking in detail, so much so he looks less like Arabian royalty and more like Donald Duck? I'm not imagining it, right? I can see what they were going for, dark skin, turban with a jewel in the middle, but it really does look like a white head, large eye and a beak. God damn it, cannot unsee. Another downgrade is the game mechanics. The prince can only move and jump now, no climbing, crawling or even attacking, which frankly sucks. To make up for this though, we're given new stage arrangements, plus 4 extra stages, doubling the number of levels. 3 of these levels play differently too, either being on a raft or a flying carpet, which play a little bit like a shoot 'em up, as the prince inexplicably has the Zeus-like ability to shoot lightning bolts now. The difficulty of the stages is also increased. Remember how in the arcade game you get bonus points for collecting the golden pots in the correct order? Well, now it's mandatory. You do get a little bit of choice as there are 3 A's in Arabian, but combine this with a double game length and only 1 credit to beat it, and you've got one tough nut to crack. Well, time to see if my carefully nurtured gaming skills can best this challenge. Enough talk, have at you. Ugh, that speech is really starting to grate now. Come back, Bonzi buddy, all is forgiven. Okay, stage 1, here we go. 6 tentacled octopi, cannon, mutant turkeys, which can kill you by just randomly flying around the level. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, let's be careful of the cannon fire. Watch out for the... Oh, I swear these things are homing in on me now. Let's try going straight to the top this time to avoid... Oh, let's go for the different A this time. And, add 1 more difficulty increase to the list. Full damage. Thanks for that, lads. Oh god, it's another one of those turkeys. Hey, look at that. You beauty. Now it's just a case of dropping down here to... Oh, come on. Please don't hit me, please don't hit me, please don't hit me. Oh, thank Christ. It's tough to know which way the octopi are going to go. Oh, of course. Got to time it right so the octopi are right out the way and... Oh, for fuck's sake! Oh, come on, really? Ah! You have to be so precise getting up these ladders. Oh, god damn it! Wait for the octopus to move. Oh, you're just going to stay there, are you? Fucking brilliant. Well, that's yet another game over. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Let's just go back up here and... Oh, come on. Why would you put a rope there that you can't climb up? This is stupid. I've just realised you've literally got to commit suicide to get this last jug. Look at that. That fool would kill you normally. Okay, stage 2. You've got to dodge the crocodiles and also dodge these clouds, rocks, whatever. But you can shoot them with lightning bolts, so there's that. Keep your eyes on the crocs, otherwise they could just come up underneath you and kill you. Brilliant. Okay, let's try... Oh, look at that! How am I meant to react to that in time? Just occurred to me there must be some very strong people throwing these rocks in the background. Oh, and dead again. Oh, game over in fact. Got to start the whole game over again. Fantastic. Oh look, David's doing pretty well this time. Can't have that. Boom. I'm actually discovering new ways to die now. Look. The recoil on the cannon apparently kills you. Let's just slip under here and... Oh, bollocks! That is not fair. Oh look, and now my joystick won't stop moving to the right. This is just what I needed. Piss off. Piss off, turkey. No. Leave me alone. Ugh, wouldn't even let me commit suicide. Jesus Christ. At this point I'm going to cut out a lot of footage because I was basically playing this for hours. The ending to stage 2 is a bit of an anticlimax. I actually thought the game had crashed at first. Stage 3 is against several genies, and this would be fairly easy because they only shoot in horizontal and vertical directions, apart from this one little bastard that keeps following you wherever you go. If you don't touch the exact centre of the jugs, by the way, you're not going to pick them up. Accidental death ahoy! On stage 4 you have to ride a flying carpet and shoot down waves of enemies on their own carpets and archers on the ground. Also, I still keep seeing ducks everywhere. I actually thought I was being clever here and found a hidden place where you can't get hit, but the game soon corrected me on that. Stage 5 has you ascending this castle, avoiding arrows, barrels and bombs, And of course you've got Launchpad McQuack there in the centre, who, looking at him, does not give a fuck. There are several things I don't like about this level. Firstly, it's unclear what surfaces you can and can't walk on. Secondly, to clear some of the jumps in this stage you have to have pixel-perfect precision. And thirdly, the order of collecting the jugs is starting to feel like padding out the level a bit. This one might be more enjoyable if you could just go straight up to the top and win, a la Donkey Kong. Stage 6 is a triple whammy of arrows, turkeys and genie ducks. And it's at this point the pot collecting aspect is starting to feel a bit silly. In the context of the story, the prince is climbing a tree to gain access to the palace. Oh, sorry princess, I would come in and rescue you, but these golden pots aren't going to collect themselves, you know. And so we come to stage 7, the battlements, where apparently the princess is being held. Not that you get to see her or anything, because, you know, you gotta collect those jugs. Aside from the occasional nasty trap in this level, there's much less of a random element to the obstacles, so if you take your time, this one's quite doable. Annoyingly, the game makes you go round this whole level twice to get the jugs in the right order, because fuck you. And you do not know true despair until you've got all the way up to the end of this level and then mess up a very simple jump like this. Ball-bustingly infuriating does not even begin to cover it. So then we come to the final stage, a flying carpet escape with the princess, who has apparently gone AWOL, because as you can see it's just Howard aboard the carpet. Who knew we were getting examples of ludonarrative dissonance on the Commodore 64? And this doesn't quite have the same emotional impact as the flying carpet scene in Aladdin, for example. I can show you a world of giant dive-bombing turkeys.
Stop singing!
So Ibrahim and Anitra returned to Kalimar, and they all lived happily ever after.
So that's Tales of the Arabian Nights. Oddly named now that I think about it, as it's really only telling one tale. Regardless, how does it measure up? Well, not great. It's technically impressive for the Commodore 64. The Spectrum port, for example, looks a whole lot worse and has no sound at all. But taking it for what it is, it's an interesting insight into the past and has plenty of challenge, so you probably won't be completing it straight away. I can tell that a huge amount of effort went into this game, and I'm highly impressed that the whole package was made by a mere 3 people, a code writer, a producer and a composer. Overall, Tales of the Arabian Nights gets an overly generous, rose-tinted rating of 3 mutant turkeys out of 5. Sorry Imrahil, but it seems your Arabian tale is best told through ballet, not video games. Now who's up for some Code Goat?